Got mold? I have Rich Ciciora here with Mold Solutions. Rich, thanks for joining me today, man.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a while. We did one of these quite a while ago. It's probably been about 5 or 6, maybe 7 years.
Probably.
Uh, but you're still a Blackhawks fan back then.
Yeah,
Still
we
Blackhawks
are, we
fan?
are, we are.
All
Yes,
right,
yes,
that's
yes,
all right.
yes.
The
So
Blues
yeah,
beat you.
last time it was Blues versus Blackhawks. We were kind of in some contention. That was the last time. It's been a minute.
It's
been a minute.
It's been a while
for both of us.
Yeah,
To be
absolutely.
in the end.
Absolutely, man. So I've heard someone say that every house has mold. Is that true?
Yeah, I hear that a lot. I think what the better question is does every house have mold? Yes, it's always floating around. Every building has mold. It's floating around just like pollen. We're breathing it in right now. It's outside. Oh, I know. It's coming in with us, and of course we're supposed to Swiffer and dust and change our air filters in our furnace to try to get the pollen, the mold, the skin cells, the insect fragments, all the yummy stuff that's in our dust that we're
Yes.
breathing. But I think the better question is does every house have mold growth? And that answer is probably not. In order to have mold growth, you've got to have a few things in place, and it's usually revolving water. So the caveat to that is, yeah, there's mold everywhere, but it's not normal to have mold growth in your home.
Okay. Well, tell me a little bit about Mold Solutions.
Yeah, so Mold Solutions, we've been here in St. Louis for just over 15 years. We wanted to fill the gap in the market for people that just need mold remediation, but there wasn't a catastrophic water event or a claim that insurance is going to help them with. It's outside of the insurance world usually. It's usually an exclusion, and there really wasn't anybody here to help people with a legitimate mold remediation in their house outside of insurance.
Okay.
So we fired up here really to fill that gap, and it's been great. We've been on an up into the right ever since.
Awesome.
It's been great.
Awesome, man. So tell me this: if I was to build a new home, is there anything I should worry about there? Brand new home.
Yeah, I hear that a lot too. I have a new home. I have nothing to worry about. Believe it or not, there's a ton of mold during the construction process.
Oh, there is.
For a number of reasons. It's supply chain. It's how long the wood's been sitting at the lumber yard. It's after it's been delivered. Where's it being stored as the foundation is being poured? We don't build old drafty farmhouses anymore.
Right.
We're all about energy efficiency. So we have walls that are spray foamed with insulation. We have awesome windows that are high efficiency furnaces. All those things are really tightening up our building envelope. So during that construction process, if there's moisture in the wood and the concrete, it's a little bit more difficult for it to dry out during that process. So a lot of our time is spent educating builders and end users on how to keep things as mold free as possible during the build.
Gotcha.
But having a new home doesn't mean that you have nothing to worry about mold on your one-day-old house.
Okay. Now, I know you've been doing this a long time. Where do you see the mold growth come from?
Well, like I said in the beginning, mold needs a few things to grow. It's always in our air. So like, for instance, mold that's floating around in here just doing its thing, it's really just floating around. In order for that mold to start to grow and colonize, it needs the right temperature. Newsflash, the house is always the right temperature unless it's on fire or it's frozen. The temperature is fine for mold to grow. It needs a food source, something for it to eat and grow on. So it's anything organic, which is drywall, paper, boxes, clothes, wood, you name it. But the one thing we do have a chance of controlling is the moisture. So either direct water, everybody's had a toilet overflow.
Sure.
The drywall gets wet. If you don't dry it out fast enough, mold is very free to grow on that surface. You've provided the environment for the mold in our air to start to colonize. Or the more important one is elevated humidity. Elevated humidity, specifically in a basement, is probably the most common mold remediation that we do. And let's face it, in this part of the country, in the summer, it's a little sweaty.
And I know you've been over to my house a couple times, not for mold solutions or anything, but you've been over there and you said you need a dehumidifier.
For sure. I preach that from the mountaintops. I always joke. If I'm a dentist, I'm telling everybody to brush every day, floss every day, brush 3 times a day.
Right.
If you live in the Midwest and you have a basement, it's almost guaranteed that you need a dehumidifier, unless you have a furnace system that is balanced in a way that there's a cold air return down there that's actually sucking in your basement air,
Okay.
drying it through the air conditioning, and then dumping it back out. The majority of basements are just dumping a little bit of air conditioning, and we're all going to rely on a standalone dehumidifier to keep everything below 60%.
Gotcha. If I suspect that there is mold in my house, where do I start?
Honestly, it starts off with a conversation.
Okay.
We always just tell people, give us a call, tell us what's going on. We'll talk about, well, one, why you think there's mold there. Are you seeing something? Are you smelling something? Or is it neither of those and it's physical symptoms? Maybe it's your wife, maybe it's your kids, maybe a doctor is questioning, hey, these are some of the symptoms that this person's having. We've checked all these things off. Do you think you might have mold in your house? And that's where we would start the conversation. And generally speaking, everything starts off with putting our eyes on it. It's a visual inspection to start off with. We can always do sampling or testing
Okay.
to quantify and figure out types of mold that are in the house. And more importantly, how much are we breathing?
Right.
But it's a pretty simple process just to start off.
Awesome. Well, man, thanks for coming by today. I really appreciate you giving us some insight on your expertise with mold. I really appreciate it. It's always good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too.
All
Thanks
right.
so much.
Take care, Rich.
Thank you.
See
See
ya.
ya.